No, Canada's got a pretty good squad this year at Gold Cup. They could do something. Okay, so just a breakdown of how this video is going to go. I am recording this around the time that they're still figuring out the final qualification spots for the 3 spots available in Group A, B, and C. But I'm just going to break down and tell you guys essentially who I think are going to be the 2 teams that are going to make it out of each group of the 4 groups, and then of course break down who's going to win the quarterfinals, semifinals, and who's going to win the finals at the end. So now let's get things started here with Group A, which for me, I believe the top 2 teams here making out will be El Salvador in second. And in first place there is Mexico. Mexico, even though they might not have 1 or 2 of their big stars on this team, they're still a very good team here. They are going to go through this group, I think, probably perfect 3-0 and make it to that next round of the quarterfinals there in the knockout stage. El Salvador, they're being a really good country here as well. I think that they'll pretty much, maybe not automatically, might have a little bit of a fight with them there with the other countries in their group, but I believe that they will finish second behind Mexico in this group to move on to the quarterfinals. Now in Group B, I believe it will be Canada and the US that will finish in the top 2 spots there. I do believe US will just edge them out there in first place and Canada in second place. I actually think those 2 will probably get a draw in their matchup. US doesn't have their best players coming into this tournament. Canada, most of their best players are playing this tournament except for guys like Hutchinson, David, as well as Arfield. They're not going to be in this tournament there. That could put a little damper on things. I don't think it's the absolute best squad there for the Canadian men's national team, but I do think they're going to be good enough to at least make it top 2 and get out of this group here and push the US in this group. I think it's going to be the US as well as Canada both qualify out of the group stage. For Group C, this one's pretty easy as well. I think it's going to be Jamaica and Costa Rica who both make it out of this group. Both countries here are usually countries that do qualify out of any groups in CONCACAF Gold Cup competitions. They got enough quality players and pieces on their team for this tournament that I do believe they'll make into the knockout stages and pretty much push any of the other clubs or countries there in the knockout stage. Costa Rica especially, they're definitely one of the better sides in CONCACAF, as they are a team that usually does push on to qualify for a World Cup every once in a while, or every couple of years, at least the last couple of cycles I believe they made it to the World Cup. So this is a pretty good Costa Rican side. I think they're going to finish atop of their group here with Jamaica second. These 2 teams will move on out of Group C. For Group D here, the final group here, I believe will be Panama finishing second and qualify for quarterfinals, and finishing atop that group will be Honduras. We'll probably finish off with a perfect 3-0 in the group there. Honduras is typically a really good side that does qualify again out of the group stages and does push on into the knockout stages. I don't think they're a top nation yet in CONCACAF there, but I definitely think they're a top 5 nation here. They're going to push on out of this group and into the quarterfinals. Now the first quarterfinal matchup here then will be Honduras versus El Salvador, if everything my predictions in the group stages all fall in place there. For this one, I believe that will be Honduras, who is a little bit better of a nation than El Salvador, a bit of a roster here for this tournament, will then win and move on to the semifinals. The other quarterfinal matchup here will be Jamaica versus the US here. For this one, I believe the US, the United States there, will go on to beat Jamaica. Jamaica usually is a pretty good country, especially in the knockout stages. They are able to steal wins, but I definitely think the US men's national team here, they're still pretty decent, even though it's not their A squad. Even their B squad here is still pretty good. I think they'll just edge out Jamaica there to make it onto the semifinals. Our second last quarterfinal matchup here will be Panama versus Mexico, and this one, sorry, but I really think Mexico is gonna beat Panama here. I don't know if they're going to run away with it like a 4-0 win, but I do think they're going to pretty comfortably win against Panama. Mexico is still a very deep side here. They'll win and move on to the semifinals. And finally, the last quarterfinal matchup here will be the Canadian men's national team versus Costa Rica, which is for me going to be the biggest matchup of this quarterfinals I'm predicting here. And for me, I actually think the Canadian men's national team will just edge out on Costa Rica here. I think it will be really tight, super tight. It could go either way, 50-50 split here, but I think the Canadian men's national team, as they're kind of continuing in the rebuild, need to push on to that next stage of their group development, and that is right here in the quarterfinals. They're going to get a win just barely, but they're going to get a win there over Costa Rica to make it to the semifinals. Now next up, we got the semifinals here. The 2 matchups will then be Honduras versus US, which for me I think it's going to be tight squeeze in there, but I do think the Americans will edge them out there. Even their B squad, like I said, is still a pretty good squad. I think they'll just beat out on Honduras in this semifinal. And the other semifinal will then be Mexico versus Canada, who of course, like I said, predicted will beat out Costa Rica in the quarterfinals. Canadian men's national team, unfortunately, this is where they'll meet their end. I think they can qualify for semifinals here, but against a big, good country like Mexico, with as deep of a team as they have, even at this tournament, I do not think they'll be able to beat them. It'll be close to, they'll probably push them a bit, but at the end of the day, Mexico will beat them and play the U.S. in the finals. And then finally, in the CONCACAF Gold Cup 2021 finals, the U.S. versus Mexico is what I predict will be the finals. And at the end of the day, I think it's going to be Mexico that wins the 2021 CONCACAF Gold Cup. I mean, there's just still such a good squad, even this squad here coming into this tournament. Very strong squad against the Americans. Yeah, you don't have Pulisic and, you know, Altidore and all these other top caliber players there for the U.S. men's national team, but I mean, still, they're good enough to, I think, make it if everything kind of falls in line. If they can finish top of their group, they kind of have a bit of an easier gamble then to make it through quarterfinals and even semifinals. But I do not think that they'll win this tournament here. I think Mexico still has the better squad on paper, at least, and a very, very strong squad at that. So they will win to retain the CONCACAF Gold Cup championship this year in 2021. All right, guys, that was my predictions this week with my predictions for the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Let me know your predictions down in the comment section below. And of course, if you like this video, definitely hit that thumbs up, that like button. If you want to see more content just like this, definitely hit that red subscribe button. And until next week, guys, I'll catch you later.